Hello everyone, Allie here, and welcome to the Gold Mine. Thank you for joining me here on another episode at Allie's Treasure Trove. Today we are getting into episode number 11 of our Allie Plays August takeover, of course, continuing here with the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're getting into trial part 1 here of in-game episode number 4. So this is overall the third part so far in episode 4. So we are actually getting increasingly very close to the end of the game. I must admit, in this case, I'm not quite sure what's happened, although I'm pretty sure that's the intent, leaving Ryunosuke Susato in the dark here in order to go ahead and just kind of wing it and see what we can come up with, poke holes through, I'm assuming going to be these lying witnesses here to prove Natsume-san innocent in this trial. I don't think he did it. The only way he could have done it is he actually has some sort of, I would say, mental health issues. He's always talking about spirits, really looking always like super sketched out in general, always looking over his shoulder, really being super nervous. So I will say I'm a little worried. Perhaps maybe he's schizophrenic and just like is seeing a lot of spirits and maybe did something that he would not normally have done in order to attack that woman, but I don't see how that would make any sense. But then again, I also didn't think Mr. Mcgill was guilty in case number 2, or case 3 rather, and it turns out that he was maybe not necessarily guilty. It was proven that without couldn't go beyond a reasonable doubt to say that he was guilty, so he got off there, but he was definitely hiding something and quite nefarious. So looks like I'm not having the greatest judge of character here, although do have very strong inkling that Lord Chief Justice is not so just. So we're going to see what's happening here. Like I said, getting into the first part of the trial for Natsume-san in that case of the woman who actually hasn't died. She's still unconscious, which I find is a bit odd. You got stabbed and you're unconscious for like 3 days. Is that how that works normally? I guess if anyone's had any scary experiences like that, let me know in the comment section down below, but I find that odd. I wonder if there was something else that happened to her as well. Why is she unconscious? That's something that's been nagging me in the back of my head throughout these episodes. But anyways, it is the 20th of February at 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back in here again so soon?
We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. That's true. In most cases, it seems like you get convicted, you go to the gallows. However, because the lady hasn't died yet, it doesn't seem that Natsume-san would get executed, but still, not fun times. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass.
Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right.
Let's see, someone says, "Good morning!" I was right. Mr. Natsume, good morning. Like, this dude's stress levels are stressing me out. To be fair, though, an experience like this, being on a study tour abroad, where he is obviously very good at reading English, but not so well at speaking, because he said he was having a hard time, I guess, with listening and speaking. It's much easier to read and write in a foreign language than it is to speak and listen, at least in my personal experience. And I think that is actually something my Japanese teacher was telling me in college, that is why in class discussion is such a big part, because you can be like, oh, I think I'm proficient in a foreign language, and then listen to somebody and just, whether it's their pace or their tone or just the way they speak, it just might not be able to pick up on it. So he definitely he was saying, he kind of quasi-confessed to it, because he just kept saying yes to when they came to arrest him, because he didn't know what was going on, so he's like, oh, police here, oh no. And, he's always thinking people are talking about him, and, his accent, he's always talking about his accent, and just doesn't feel comfortable with people that might not be able to understand him having a British defense lawyer, even though none of them wanted to take his case anyways. So, I can only imagine how stressful of a situation that is in general, then to be accused of attempted murder. I'd probably be a bit whacked out too, but I don't know. I hope he's not guilty. I'm having doubts, just like Ryunosuke was. This isn't very Phoenix Wright of me. I'm supposed to 100%, 110% believe my client, but I don't know. I don't think he did it. I'm just worried that, like, well, but what if? There's always the what if, I guess.
Oh dear, are you alright?
Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. I thought he looked a little different. I was like, man, what was this guy smoking before the trial? But yeah, I guess that was intentional. Perhaps I just didn't notice it. Because when he was in prison, of course, the background was very dark. Maybe he's always been rendered like this, but yeah, his eyes are quite red.
The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain.
Yes, I've heard that expression.
But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now, I'm absolutely exhausted as a result.
Do all literary people take things so literally? Because he's very proficient at English in terms of reading. That's what he came over here. He wanted to do English literature, but he actually came over and is like, oops, you're on English language. And of course, he has all those books. So he can read English very well, to my understanding. Maybe he's not so great at that, but definitely a big jump between just looking at foreign text and then being able to just have it come in your ear, filter through, and then being able to respond like immediately. It's definitely very difficult.
Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume.
So I'm so happy I gave Susato I just went more generic high-pitched voice, because I feel like every other female character in this game, I give a voice and then I'm like, what voice was that? Because my normal voice is just Ryunosuke. So then it's like, oh, default girl voice is Ryunosuke. Oops.
I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble.
Well, obviously not. You're trembling right now, but sure. Sure thing. Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor.
I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, welcome student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Yes?
I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London.
Oh, neither did I. I think they're just here to simp for Van Zeeks just like the rest of us. Do you know why that might be, Mr. Sato?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea.
So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Why don't you read it in your book, Susato?
Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it?
See, big brain. Big brain. Lord Van Zeeks. Is that right, Mrs. Sato?
I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one.
I knew it!
Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact. Until the day before yesterday.
I want to look at the court record. This is something I wasn't able to do in, He's still not here. I want to see how old he was. I don't think we looked. We might have looked in episode 3, but I don't remember. I don't remember how old he is.
But he stopped appearing in court, it seems.
Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he?
The child!
No, that wasn't the voice. That was a weirdly botched Kermit voice.
The child!
No. What is Gregson's voice? All I know is that my voice cracks a lot. The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeek's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. There we go. That's it. The trial of Magnus Mcgill did. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was. The Penguin. Trial of the Penguin.
I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's.
But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country.
Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they are all speculating various answers.
That doesn't seem very journalistic of them.
Mundane! Mundane! It is the most significant saga of the century to some of us.
Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume. but that is how the papers are describing it.
Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago.
Yes, I agree.
How come student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire? It's you!
Me? Well, I suppose that's true.
Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor.
I've discovered that I'm physically unable to do Soseki's voice if I don't shake my hand. You guys could probably, like, imagine what I'm doing. Just restrained voice and, like, imagine, like, you're shaking somebody's shoulders.
Both times.
I can't not.
It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper.
No. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers, with cultist vampires.
I'm afraid there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck.
Thanks for that.
Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive.
We have a 100% win rate. Why are you saying it like that? Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Like, did you forget? Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side.
Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Miss Mikotaba Esquires. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live.
I do exactly his hand motions he was doing there when I do his voice.
Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once.
All right then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go.
Yes. Yes.
This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight.
Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
I love it. I love it. Alright, 10 a.m. That was a 40-minute conversation there, it seems. Didn't feel like it. I see a conflict of interest. Yo, Soul Rock. Soul Rock is on the jury bench. That's not kosher.
Judge,
I'd like to complain.
in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. We're not prepared, we're just ready. This man's literally a vampire. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Renosuke is taking the words out of my mouth here. Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Alright, Malfoy, calm down. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description.
Susato-san. Susato pulls no punches, man.
After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
He's not happy about that statement. Susato pulls no punches. Very true. Most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate violent end. Wait, was the guy at the end the banker? Bro, we need a new jury panel.
Thank you, counsels. I feel both sides are in fine fettle. Why do I sound like the defendant? Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public?
Impartial. D's nuts, my dude. Bruh, get out of here. I don't want to do this guy's voice again. You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for— Shut up, fair play. Get out of here. Yo, this lady's neck is too small. Her neck is too small. This is making me uncomfortable. Why is her neck so small?
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather ruthless than I appear.
Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow.
I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that mustache foreigner did the deed.
Shut up, Soul Rock. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyways.
Sorry, didn't quite catch that.
Alright, we're not keeping those voices. That's just what came to mind, and of course, as we proceed throughout this trial, I'll just do whatever comes to mind. My brain can't handle memorizing who I give what voice on all these, because of course I'm assuming we're going to have two new witnesses. We have Natsume, the judge, Van Zeeks, Ryunosuke, which is easy, obviously, Susato. I'm not doing another 6 voices, except I feel obligated to do Soul Rock and the banker. Oh no. Don't remember. I thought we'd never see her again. Oh no.
Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks.
Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with the rising power in the Far East. Are you in the court record yet? There he is. 32. Wonder where he got that scar. 32. He's younger than Herlock, then.
I'm older than the cultist vampire. Does that make me a cultist vampire too?
The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this fallen student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, the student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street.
A knife crime? I'll tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Just look at that sallow complexion, short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Rude. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry, didn't quite catch that.
Oh my goodness. Pray forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this grand chamber. Allow me to call the first witnesses to the stand.
Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please.
Oh, good. Fry boy. Your name and occupation, please.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard.
Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? Olive green. Olive green. Your name is a color. Why is your name a color?
The victim is thought to be the young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green.
I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be... No.
I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be...
Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since.
I don't know, man. Sounds like something else is going on there. What? So they don't even know for sure who she is? That seems like a little bit of an oversight.
Comatose, I see, but her life is not in danger.
Fortunately for the Eastern students, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to take a look at this street map! As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. He looks super sketchy. I feel bad for him. He's like, why does everybody think I'm sketchy? It's like, because you look super sketchy. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far.
Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please.
Alright. What of the weapon that was used? Sir! I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now.
With a heavy blade like that, almost anyone would have been able to stab the poor woman.
Even a scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose.
A common or garden jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence.
Alright. Large but commonplace folding knife.
Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume?
Maybe she had some rare books. From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she was had anything much worth pinching, my lord.
I see. Well, in that case, we are looking at some deep-seated resentment towards the victim.
I'm afraid I couldn't say. Alright, so there's no motive. Apart from visiting secondhand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
It's really hard to do his voice and keep the voice cracks. My throat's like, oh, you don't mean to do this, surely, right? And I'm like, no, please, I want the scratch. Give me the scratch. If the theft and grievance had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? And yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Excuse me? Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Well. You guys got told by a frog to go get this guy, so I don't know about that. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir! As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. They thought Soul Rock and Lunatone told us that it was so foggy you literally couldn't see anything. I thought we established that last episode. Convenient that she's on the jury panel. We could just ask her ourselves, maybe. I doubt that'd be allowed, but in theory, we could do that. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him.
Old books, you say?
Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. How many books are there? 1, 2, 3. I was like, man. I was hoping there'd be like 4 books. Be like, we have a receipt that only shows 3 books. Somebody's planning, plotting, pinning a murder on us. That's not our book, but those are. We purchased. Well, Natsume purchased 3 books.
Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector.
Crime scene photograph. Was that even this? Oh yeah, it has to be the same knife, but... You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Rude. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. What? There is no overwhelming evidence. Y'all literally don't even have fingerprint tests. Just imagine how crimes were... You could just get away with stuff back in the day. Be like... You just pin it on somebody else, easy. Now it's like, oh, you pin it on somebody else. And it's like, yeah, but you touched this. And they didn't touch it. It's like, oops. Meddling kids. But... I feel like it probably was pretty easy to get away with crimes. At least during this time period. I mean, you're like, oh, must have been this foreign dude. He's kind of weird. He happened to be there. Well,
Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything as you put it.
What are you doing, Miss Susanto?
Do go on.
Mr. Natsume is admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what all had happened.
As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
A green overcoat. Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing.
Oh my! Photographic print in full color! What will the world come up with next?
Video. The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the 2 of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. Well, he doesn't say there was nobody else there. He said he couldn't see anybody else.
It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please.
Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Now, as we learned in the last case, if we press everything, the jury gets uppity about it. Alright, I want to press this one.
Hold it!
I don't know that visibility was reasonably good. How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Ah yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he?
That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard.
That is correct, ma'am! Then we must hear their testimony. Like, yeah, that's coming. That's coming. And the prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But, wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. We're here in the capital city of Great Britain. All main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. Ah. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime.
Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness.
Which means we really need to hear those witnesses' statements. And if I can just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Alright. Alright, let's press this one. Mr. Natsume's belongings. I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene.
Yes, 3 books on the floor.
That's right, my lord. Second-hand books. They were irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example.
He's very clever, isn't he?
What do you mean?
He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back?
That must be what happened, my lord, yes. You asked for the help of the famous detective, Herlock Sholmes, to locate the defendant, I believe. Stuff and nonsense! Sorry? That jack in office, that busybody, just comes and sticks his oar in whether we ask him or not. But according to what I have here, Mr. Sholmes was shown to the scene by Scotland Yard detectives. Well, that was nothing to do with me! The lads at the scene must have done it without my permission! Nah. I tell them time and again, whenever something happens, send word to headquarters. Then follow your bloomin' instructions. I see. If that meddler gets his hands on any details, well, I'll be reading it in France magazine next month. And you can bet your last farthing that I'll be in there too, stripped of all my hard work in the case. Yes, Mr. Sholmes. No, Mr. Sholmes. Aren't you clever, Mr. Sholmes? That's all the thanks I'll be getting. Inspector, if the man is proving detrimental to the Yard's activities, perhaps I should step in and deal with him. Ah!
It appears Inspector Gregson is lost for words.
Yes, and the Reaper's words carry a lot of weight, obviously. Anyway, the point is this, that little Japanese bloke's already admitted to it. He's admitted that those books all over the pavement at the scene were the ones he bought that day.
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? If you aren't able to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid...
Then Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed? Yes, they're sure to find him guilty. So one way or another, I have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in the inspector's testimony. Alright, so we just have to press again. I want to look at the... No, I can't look at the court record. I don't want to accidentally present something. I'm gonna just press. A light fog, you say? Well, light for London, you can see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yeah, it's not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint.
Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate.
I see.
At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm.
Indeed, the other day I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling.
Ugh. Sato-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual.
Now we know that's not true, though.
A fact, no doubt, lamented by the accused.
Did we press this one?
Yes.
Hold it!
I don't think we did this one yet. From behind, you say?
That's right, as you can see from this print.
Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition? Comatose, no less.
I'm afraid so, my lord, yes. She's been treated at Bard's. I was hopeful that she'd come around before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to me.
Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events.
Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Ugh.
Hold it!
Mr. Natsume's belongings, Oh, we did press this one. Alright, let me skip through. The books. Poor books. Got ruined in the snow. Alright, I know we didn't press that one because I didn't think it was an important statement, but... The defendant apparently visits a secondhand bookshop on a daily basis.
Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature.
I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention.
The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books.
Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector?
Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid.
Bourbon Books.
The closest secondhand bookshop to the accused lodging is this place here, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Mearsham Street. Mearsham Street. There we go.
Mearsham. I don't even know where that came from.
As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this.
Why do I feel like he could have just walked on the other side of the street?
Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would have certainly passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance.
Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being... Yeah, it has to be the location, right? The other stuff doesn't really make sense. The crucial detail in what you've just told the court, Inspector, is the location of the bookshop.
I couldn't agree more.
So, where is it exactly?
Eh? Are you winding me up, Sunshine? I just explained that. I got the map out and everything. Used red blooming ink and drew the bloke's route home on for you.
And I distinctly remember seeing you nod along, Counsel.
Oh, yes, of course. Must have been so nervous I didn't take it in. The blunder of the day goes to you, my learned friend. No, not yet. The trial's only just begun, after all.
Mr. Naruhodo, I would strongly advise you to look carefully through the court record at this stage.
Yes, miss. At once, miss. Sorry I made a mistake, miss. Inspector, continue with your testimony, please. Oh. I don't think that's what was important. Ooh, how do we look at the court record? How do I examine space? Yeah, it's not the same bookshop. Alright, big brain. How do I go back? Speed run. Alright, we gotta press this one.
Hold it!
Thank you, Susanto. Big shout out to Susanto.
And look at the court record, you dummy! Pretty sure we have a receipt for the bookshop, and I don't think that name adds up.
Meerschaum Street. Do. Was the scene of the crime moved or something? Bookshop's name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know. We just went full Phoenix. I love it. That was adorable. It was adorable. You know, I mean, yes, it could be a very important clue.
Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector.
Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? Alright, I would like to present...
Objection!
I would like to object to that statement. If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know! This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of the 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books.
Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume?
Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand shop, a bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh, what?
Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop?
Yes, sir! Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
But in fact, that is the bookshop in which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
I disagree. I mean, after all...
I have the street map here if that may be of help.
Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost have certainly passed the scene where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true?
My, it rather depends on whether this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said?
Absolutely. And absolutely could be right. Right, the jury is more favorable this time around. Even though we have 2 people on the jury that are not impartial jurors. How did they allow this? How do they allow this? The banker guy's getting a lot of time off, though. Be like, sorry, I can't come to work. Court summons as a witness. Next day, sorry, I can't come to work. Court summon as a juror. It's like, what? No wonder he has no money. He doesn't go to work.
Inspector Gregson, where is this your books establishment?
Well, obviously we looked into that. Sure you did. Turns out that your books is just here on the next corner of Meerschaum Street going east. Alright. Well, in theory, you could have went the same way home. Just around that way. But could have went this way too. And there you have it. As you can see clearly now, the rain is gone. Oh. Rain's not gone. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. Good meme, good meme, good meme. For a while, it was really big on the internet for a while, but there was an Edgeworth meme that said, "You're not a clown, you're the entire circus." And it wasn't an actual Ace Attorney screenshot. I don't know if it was made from, like, because there's actually a website. I tried my hand at it once, but I couldn't come up with anything. But there's actually a website that you can make your own cases using the sprites and whatnot of the original Ace Attorney engine. So I don't know if it was like a custom game or someone just made that screenshot, but it wasn't a real in-game screenshot. But I don't know if you guys have seen that meme. Let me find the meme. Edgeworth meme. Meme circus. You're not a clown, you're the entire circus. Why are these all low quality? Why are these all LQ memes? We save image. Alright. Oops. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go! I didn't mean to do that, Susanto, I'm sorry. Soul Rock and Lunatone is getting replaced by Edgeworth meme. Oh, I forgot I flipped it. Transform. Flip horizontal. This meme, I don't know if you guys have seen this meme, but this is not a real screenshot. This is, like I said, either a custom-made one or just like someone's custom game. But this was a meme. Good meme, good meme. I don't know if that was intentional here on Van Zeeks' part by the localization team at Capcom, or that's actually what he says, but good meme. If the accused was coming home from your books instead of bourbon books, he could have just went this way. There's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Why don't you just go the other way?
Yes, thank you, Inspector.
Nah. Why don't we just ask Natsume which way he went home? Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Ooh. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ah!
As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try.
What did I say? I've had enough of this now.
Beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up.
What do you mean?
If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty.
Ah, she's absolutely right. We must
consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully.
They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but I'm gonna raise an objection. I meant to hit space because I thought we were going to the next text box, but this is exactly what I want to do. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed.
Explain yourself, counsel.
Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. Yeah, you can just go the other way. If the defendant used those streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that the accused had his belongings at the scene of the crime. I mean, I guess this is true, Van Zeek's, but I mean, I feel like pointing out that his books were around the scene of the crime is a little bit more of a compelling argument. But that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. Nah. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection!
But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right! As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this. I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? Ugh, the jury. But even if that is the case, the defense still... I agree with Lord Van Zeeks. Wholeheartedly in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean... We members of the jury are completely convinced now.
Very well, in that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Yeet the fine. Now I get to make them fight against each other, right?
It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous.
To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably.
Mr. Naruhodo?
No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Corey, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial? Rights of the defense written into an antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses.
Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his Onkis refuses to throw in his alley.
Very well, then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty.
For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he?
If he said that the woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why could it only have been the victim? The man wouldn't.
I just gave them the same voice.
The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. Well, the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing.
Your books, yes, nice shop that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit.
What?
With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are too clear.
When the stabbing occurred, only 2 people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes.
Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already.
Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now.
Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How could I possibly make a case for the defense?
Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force this trial to continue...
Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least.
Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward.
You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination.
Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke. You can do it. Majestic. Alright, the defense's rebuttal. Alright. Let's press that. Excuse me, but... Aren't you? Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyways. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry?
Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals.
Oh, well, you know. Water under the bridge.
Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me nonstop.
If I could turn back the clock.
Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't.
Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history.
Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
Hold it!
And you're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him.
Well, quite, that's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit.
Let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. Man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes.
But if that's a lie, as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible?
Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? That's rude.
Rude? I can tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it.
I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime.
Ugh.
If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my, you are too kind, my lord.
That went well, for her. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter.
Hold it!
But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is he went home along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I've given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Road way, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. A reason why Saseki-san might have taken the longer way home.
Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one.
Hold it!
Whatever's the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mr. Garadeb, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room? The master's wife? Where do you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid! The maid, you understand? She's keeping up that charade. Ugh, this is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean. Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see? It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he?
Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now.
And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would want to commit a crime such as this?
Oh my goodness me, yes, he's just the sort.
Oh my goodness. What?
Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. Man never speaks. And don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something.
That's a little excessive, isn't it?
Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume, how could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm. Nothing more.
Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I'd better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's said enough damning things already. Alright, so we can't get fair play and we can't get the maid. I really don't care. Can we wrap this up now? I got work to be doing.
Hold it!
A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat. Neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop, it was. What? Another coincidence. That's right. Meerschaum Street, it was. We pit this guy against the middle dude.
On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Gosh, Mr. Naruhodo, you only have to remember 3 names of streets and you can't even do it.
Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point of that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir. It's important. Fine, I'll do it then. On the day it happened, I was digging up Meerschaum Street from dawn till dusk. Alright, I'll pit this guy against... Alright, pit.
Objection!
Those 2 statements are clearly at odds with one another.
At odds, counsel. Explain yourself.
Please, don't point. It wasn't me, I swear. Yeah, what? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3. Oh, me, sir? What? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implication of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of secondhand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meerschaum Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meerschaum Street and down Briar Road. Oh yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice. Yes. My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may.
Yes.
I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir? Yeah, who, me? Well, all right then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in. That's what I say. I like this. This is a pleasant interaction between those two gentlemen. I like that third juror. He actually seems to care a little bit.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful.
Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It's strengthened our position somewhat.
Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to tip the balance completely.
Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. And that's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. What's up, Malfoy?
Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please.
Yes, my lord. I gotta ask this dude.
Hold it!
This dude will have to pit against the second lady, right? Sorry, fold it? You say fold what? No. What I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often?
I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about.
And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question?
Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine. And then I was walking in front of some Japanese guy, and I just randomly fell down and got spooked, but totally not relevant to the case.
Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked? Are you sure about the time?
Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry, not after the dreadful time I had.
What do you mean?
Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and dunked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. Really thought my number was up.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road.
That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books.
Juror number 6, I must insist. Now you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant.
Sorry. Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now.
You've changed 2 of the jury's minds, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, just 2 more to go.
Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here. Susato takedown then, Mr. Naruhodo.
Wish I knew how to do a Susato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now. Alright. Alright. Why does it have to be a chunky woman in green? Why can't it be a chunky man in green?
Objection!
Right? To be fair, from the back, I think they'd look quite similar.
A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel?
Well, juror number 2, juror number 6.
My, whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you.
Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact of which we could be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot.
But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey.
That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes.
Yes, we are all aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection!
Can we really be sure of that, madam?
My, whatever do you mean?
I'm sure you heard a juror number 6 account of what happened to him that day. The same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on icy streets in the neighborhood.
Oh my! My goodness, you made...
That's right. I'm referring, of course, to the hard of hearing juror number 6.
Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has somewhat of a similar build to the victim.
Well, look at that! My goodness me!
Sorry, you need a pee? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And crucially, no, Naruhodo, stop! Stop! Why would you say that after that question? Oh my goodness. And we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
On Calabash Road!
Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home.
Oh my!
You idiot, old man. If you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago.
And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat? What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the old lady to walk the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it? My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but...
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you.
And I would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well...
Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The eyes, 2, the nose, 4, so the nose have it, not guilty, they say, which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
What are you objected to? Barack. I'm assuming his name is pronounced like Barack. Could be Baroque, like the art style, but... Van Ziegs. Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hollowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Ziegs? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these juries with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Whatever you mean.
Objection!
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed. Stalwart juror member number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir.
That's right. It took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it.
Now, my learned Japanese and my not learned Nipponese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no.
2 yards is a little less than 2 meters.
Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend?
Me? I can't say you're wrong, no. What?
And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the sign of your works?
Yeah, I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had hope of passing anyway, and we just turn any gentlefolk back when they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time.
The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Ah, is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. And there can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Crushed in a single sentence. And, old man...
Old man, you can talk.
You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time?
Oh, I can't say I remember.
You don't remember?
No, he got knocked unconscious, Renosuke.
How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw. But I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it.
Order, Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself.
My lord,
if you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination?
I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see it for himself, how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. Time for me to strip. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over.
What are you talking about?
My lord. The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand.
Granted, bailiff, bring forth the witnesses.
Its next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident.
Yes, I remember, one of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less.
I'm afraid that it's likely to be the prosecution's next witness.
Alright, no matter who Van Zeeks brings to the stand as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent, and I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. Witnesses, please state your name and occupations for the court. What are these character designs? Is he chewing on his helmet? What's going on there? Raleigh Beat. Roly Beat? Beatty? Roly?
Constable Roly Beat, sir! Nothing to report on the street, sir!
This man's just asleep.
And I'm Miss Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife.
What's the story here?
Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beats is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually.
Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing all street lights.
There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all.
I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor. And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly?
Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the streets, sir. What a great witness he's going to be.
Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident.
Yes, sir. What the witnesses saw. One thing I do want to check. Alright, we are still in part 1. Felt like we were going to actually have a little break there after Gregson's testimony and the summation examination, but we are continuing here. Just wanted to see if perhaps we had auto-saved over something before these two came out. But let's get on into their testimony here. I'm wondering what they saw, because it doesn't seem like the guy on the left really sees anything.
It was our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, 2 silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day.
Why is the guy even on the stand?
Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say.
Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be squashed.
It's death knell, in fact, because that alternative was never viable in the first place.
What an unfortunate bechancing, and on your wedding anniversary too.
Oh, I know, but I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed, however, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking.
Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Alright, there's no time to change. No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Miss Beat?
Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, the elderly can't even apply.
Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can you?
I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down the ground. Doesn't it, darling?
What? I just finished my bee. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy.
Oh no, Rolly, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy.
Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you'd finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir. Yes, although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But police is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty to patrol the streets of London town and uphold peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
This is sickening.
Oh, what a charming couple.
I don't know about that one, Susanto.
Their young love is such a joy to behold.
If a little over the top, perhaps.
And then kindly describe what happened next.
Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us.
Oh, wait. I want to go back. How do I go back? No. No, I want... I missed the second one. I want to press the second one. I don't want to see the sad talk at the end. I want to go back to press option 2.
If Kazuma-sama was here.
Susato, let me go around. Susato, I'm trying to loop back. Susato. Let me press the space bar. Alright.
Hold it!
Two silhouettes.
That's right. They were coming toward us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction.
Man, that other lady's kind of chunky. I still don't understand why she's unconscious. Anyways.
There was a rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim is pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume.
Yes, unfortunately it does. And you're certain that at that time there was nobody else nearby?
Oh yes, quite certain. It It was dark, but there were streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling?
Why, yes, that's right. Of course. There was a light fog on the ground. The Briar Road is dead straight, and you could see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. Didn't see any other pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer, please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you've just said?
Yes, sir. As a copper who spends all day every day keeping watch on the streets, I'd swear to it, sir. As I'm sure, as my love for Patricia is true.
Ugh, stop. And they're still maintaining that there's no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened.
It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run.
Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly.
Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and the other scattered something before running off.
Hold it!
Scattered something? What do you mean by that?
Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling?
What? Ah, yes, that's right. It was some old books.
I see. Old books.
Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them all around where the victim lay on the pavement.
Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed.
Hold it!
Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
We saw him. It was the man in the dock without question, sir. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose, everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in?
That's right. He looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away.
I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue.
Yes, sir. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box.
Hold it!
Was it your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling?
What?
Oh, yes, that's right. I asked Miss Beat to go.
Oh, his name's Raleigh Beat. Like he's really beat. I get it. I never figured out what pun Gina was. I haven't figured out what a lot of these puns are. But this one I figured it out, like Raleigh Beat. I'm Raleigh Beat. I was off duty by that point. But a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene.
Very laudable, Mr. Beats. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance.
That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box.
Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box?
Depends on a crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box where the incident fell under so she could go and report. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There is nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know.
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens.
Oh Oh, please. You're making us blush. Isn't he right, darling?
Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we?
It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Raleigh and I both saw him as clear as day.
Hold it!
But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you?
We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know.
Right.
The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was light, didn't he?
Yes, and what of the fog?
We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. It is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm.
Yes, alright, I take your points. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? I don't think he likes that very much.
The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see? That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was the little Japanese man that we saw. That's also why I have stars in my eyes. Isn't it, darling? I'm gonna make you love me if I keep choking you out by pulling on your scarf? I feel like this is some kind of sleep torture, but you know what? It makes you like me more because I promise to stop if you love me, but I just keep doing it anyway, so I hope you don't run away from me. Isn't that right, darling?
Oh, what? Yeah, oh yes, it was the accused and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth, the snub nose is unmistakable, sir. As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime.
Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something?
Oh, yes, of course. What is it?
Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony, is that right? Is it? Well, out with it.
What? No. It's really not that at all.
My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything like, oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I can tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is? I am the wife of a police officer. It won't do it all. Why does he keep asking me questions? Don't you know what I have to go through knowing that my man serves this country? I am so proud of him.
There's a term for people like this. What is it? What is it? I can't remember off the top of my head. Dependas. That's what they're called. It's like they sponge off of the idea.
My husband is in the army, so therefore you don't understand what I go through and his sacrifice, and I deserve everything. And you know, I am the wife of an officer, so I should also get a military discount because I support him and he supports this country, and you need to respect me more.
Hashtag just dependa things.
That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Raleigh will.
I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please, put your husband's fist down. She can't even, threaten us herself.
Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Miss Beats? Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? I could even tell you the names of the 4...
Hello.
Objection!
So, you're saying that there were 4 books?
That's right. I remember all of them.
The picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and the Thingamy's Something. I'm sorry, Miss Beats, but I've got you beat. There were only 3 books in the scene. But there's a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours.
Oh no, what flaw?
Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there are only 3 books, not 4.
What?
Have a good look at this. Look at this photograph! It printed the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see, there are only 3 books.
But no, that can't be. I saw them. Oh, I know what it is. Yeah, you can't fool me. You can't fool me. It's that big old lump of a dead body. The lady's so large, her corpse is blocking the view of the 4th book. That's all.
Let's at least try to remember that the poor woman isn't dead, even if we're insulting her size. No, I'm sorry, Miss Beats. But Mr. Natsume could not have possibly dropped the 4 books you describe.
Why not?
Fascinating. And from your should tone, something you can readily substantiate with evidence, I presume.
Yeah, we got receipts. We got receipts.
Ah, evidence.
Counsel, you will present evidence to substantiate your claim or withdraw it. What proof do you have that the accused did not drop 4 books?
Well, I'm glad y'all asked, because here's a receipt. The evidence is right here, in the form of this bookshop receipt.
From your books?
Yes, this receipt details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed.
No.
Therefore, Mr. Natsume would have only dropped 3 books at the scene of the crime. Which means that your powers of observation, madam, cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, no!
Objection!
Why are you so pretty? Stop.
It's plainly evidence that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What does that even mean? My learned friend. I don't know what that phrase means, but I'm taking it not so positively. I don't trust you, Von Zieks. I don't know. What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. Ah. So you've striven to avert the attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Will that be fair? Ugh. He sees right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect.
Oh!
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right, so only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say... Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand. Oh... That's the Lunatone's favorite book that got burnt. What is going on here? It's the 4th book. As you will observe, that the 4th book was hidden from view in the original prints by the victim's torso. No. Oh! Oh, they're wearing the same scarf. Ugh, they're so cheesy. Ugh. Gross.
Order! Order!
There, you see, look at that. Look at it. You weird Japanese boy, look at it. I knew you were shifty too. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Isn't it just like I said?
Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir.
Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Miss Beats, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lacroix.
What's it? Yearnings?
Canterbury Yearnings.
A meal for someone?
A meal for Gabrielle, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. And Miss Beats' powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that? Raleigh, the gentleman paid me a compliment. Raleigh, I want you to give me 2 compliments so that way you beat his total of compliments.
Yes, sir, flawless, sir. Patricia's flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Miss Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown as photographic print.
I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt?
It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book?
I wonder what became of that 4th book.
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence.
You will submit that in the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel.
My pleasure, my lord. That's Mr. Garadeb's book. The Burnt Lion's Bride. The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious, longer route to the accursed lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I?
You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yes, Pat, marry me. Aren't y'all already married? Stop it. So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is it the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think. What do you do now? I'm gonna raise an objection, because we know that's not her book. I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend. It's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There's no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say.
If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene in a moment like this.
Oh!
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo!
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madam.
Go ahead, Miss Susanto, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible.
Yes, I understand, and thank you, Miss Susanto. This is it. Susanto-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord.
Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked.
I want to examine this.
Oh, look at this! The book has been badly burnt!
You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages.
What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently.
A book recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me?
Let me see. It's a book entitled The Lion's Pride.
I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute! The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before. And very recently, too.
It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo.
Alright, I think we have everything.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book, found in the victim's hands.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Well, good thing we're gonna attach some significance to it right now, Mr. Barack Obama. What? Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Why are you so angry?
Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You'll identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear?
Oh, yes, my lord. It's,
Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track.
yes, I think you might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case which this fourth book conceals?
The burn marks.
Got it!
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back? What are you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp.
So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It's undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend? Oh, well, conveniently yesterday we ran into a Lunatone and Soul Rock who had got into a fight and actually burnt their favorite book to shreds, and it was titled The Lion's Pride. So I don't know how the lady obtained this book, but it's weird. Why, to concede the points, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? A charred book? There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory.
Don't keep us waiting any longer then, Counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage the sorry tome has suffered?
Its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner.
I beg your pardon.
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers.
The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious, how can you possibly...
Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may, well, burn you if your little gamble goes awry.
Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
Take
A lunatic.
that!
The answer is that book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb. The landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know. But of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garrideb herself.
Oh my goodness. Me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garrideb's wife. I'm his maid.
Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garrideb's house?
I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused's landlady, you say. You implicate this hardworking member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
We literally talked to her yesterday, dude. This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house.
Good lord, what sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord. Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite, book called The Lion's Pride. Ooh, he don't like that information. The Lion's Pride.
By Jove, the very same title that's the subject of this debate.
Oh dear me.
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames.
Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Right, Rolly?
Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. She only chokes me out with my own scarf. She says she's doing it in love to wake me up, but I don't know about that sometimes, sir. Had all my favorite novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh! Up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen.
The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
Autosave. I saw an autosave pop up over here. No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there is no reports of the Garrideb's window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrideb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time and... Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. But then how did all the smoke get out of their house? No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Ah. Does the defense postulate
in this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garrideb's wife?
Yeah. As odd as it sounds, I believe it's a possibility, my lord.
That's quite enough. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward.
Really?
Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight, honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
No, I assure you, that was never my intention.
Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud, simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right.
Here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this Nipponese spouting his fancy foreign theories? But, think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache, and he ran away from the scene too.
I do declare you're right.
It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you?
Makes sense to me.
Sorry, what? What's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zeeks?
In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... If books are your predilection, my learned friends, study them on your own time. What? No forgive the discourtesy this time?
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Thank you for that unambiguous response.
That's twice now. It's over.
Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up.
Mr. Sato,
Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet.
you're not suggesting...
Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You can still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance.
My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Alright, good. I was like, I don't want to do another summation examination right now. I think now's a very good time for a break. So now there's so many more questions. I'm assuming the window had to be open because Otherwise, they would have just... They wouldn't have been able to breathe. Like, the smoke, he had to have opened the window so the smoke would get out. I guess that explains why they say the fog was so thick they couldn't see anything, because it was actually just the smoke from their own apartment. But how did the book get down there? Why is she still unconscious? I don't think she's unconscious because of the stab wound. I feel like that might have just been placed later. I'm wondering if she actually, like, I don't know. Is it the Bobby and the wife? Like, from the back of their sprites, you can see that the coat is very patchwork. Like, maybe they... Is there some sort of reward for off-duty service? That they made it look like an attempted murder? Because she thinks the lady's dead. Like, did they stab her to get money? I don't know. That's what I'm feeling now. I feel like might be happening. That's my hunch. Because otherwise I don't really have a theory. I don't know. But even Renosuke was saying it seems like she's telling the truth. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Don't know what's going on at all. Since I have no clue what's up, let me know your thoughts as to what's going on here in the comments down below. I love reading your guys' comments. That's actually one of my favorite things, aside from, of course, enjoying the game, playing along, and just having a blast, is I love seeing how many comments there are on the videos. I love you guys live narrating your thoughts as you watch the episode, because it's a very long episode waiting to the end. I personally would forget like 95% of it. Sometimes I feel like I forget what happened in the first 20 minutes of the episode 2 hours later, so I really appreciate you guys leaving so many comments. I love reading comments, so let me know your guys' thoughts. What are your predictions for what's going on here? Do you think I'm on to something with maybe the Bobby and the wife setting something up? Like, I don't know, because how did the stuff disappear from their apartment? The window had to be open. The window had to be open. And I know that Mrs. Garadeb is trying to hide it because obviously it would bring shame to their family for the public to realize that they're so poor that they don't have a maid, which is such a weird thing to say. I feel like having a maid is obtuse, but I mean, as
Kermit the Frog told us, you're not having a maid in London society means that they think less of you. Although I don't care if it, they think it's weird that I live with a 10-year-old. Which I think is a little weird too, but she pays her half the rent and I pay my half, so it's okay, and she edits my stories. So, it turns out that the last parts, I mean, there's no way that whole investigation day 2 was, or part 2 was irrelevant, even though it seemed like that was the case at the end. There's no way that those two events happening at the same exact time, supposedly at the same exact time, has no bearing on what's going on here. So definitely loving how we're finding out more information about that. I just hate that the fair play guy is on the jury. Ugh. Impartial, like I said, impartial jurors, D's nuts, dudes. So, very curious to learn what's going on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Definitely a lot going on here. A lot longer than I actually thought it would be. But if you did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button. As I said, comments, thoughts, anything. Do you think I'm onto something? Do you think I'm completely wrong? Do you have a different theory? Let me know everything you've got going on in your brain addicts down in the comment section down below. And of course, if you're not yet part of the Allie's Treasure Trove family, I'd love to have you join me. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now, also, before I get on out of here, I do have to give a big shout out to all of my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much all for your above and beyond support. I really, truly do appreciate it. To have 4 Ultimate Excavators, Jack Perez, Keith Muna, Mako, and Stephen Olivo, 3 Gemstone Miners, and in Mark Mardini and Stephen Bly, and 1 Crystal Collector of John Michek. But thank you so much again to all of my patrons, whether you're on a tier in which I say your name at the end of every video or not. I really, truly do appreciate your guys' above and beyond support. So I hope you all have been enjoying the Allie Plays August Takeover. I still don't know why Van Zeeks is on this case. That's another question we have. He's supposed to be going over like the big guns, big bad guys, and it's a Japanese foreign exchange student that stabbed somebody that didn't die. I mean, obviously, if this turns out to be the case, Natsume, you can't just stab people. Why are you just randomly stabbing people? But it doesn't seem like his flavor. So I don't know what's going on. Something ominous is in the air, and I hope that we'll figure out more of what that pertains to in the next episode. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join me next time as we hopefully solve mysteries, because I feel like we just keep adding them and adding them and adding them every time. But
should be a wonderful payoff here at the end, and I'm so excited to figure it out. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care, and hope to catch you in tomorrow's episode. Bye!